I believe in continuity. We must move ourselves beyond thinking that death has to stop. No. No, if you're thinking properly, if you have to pass it on, actually it should evolve. I'm Wali Cathcart. I'm a descendant of Lila Crawford, who was enslaved at historic Brattonsville from 1842 to 1865, where she was part of the emancipation, and she stayed on there. She got married right away after the emancipation to Larkin Crawford. My grandmother Fanny was born there in 1868. She had other children. So that's how I'm connected to Brattonsville through Lila, which is on the freedmen's list of 1865 from Harriet Bratton. Of course, my early childhood, all my childhood, 18 years was spent right in this area on the farm. We lived on a farm, and this was our family farm. So I went to school. I attended two Rosenwald schools. One was New Home and Carroll School, where I work now. If you're familiar with the Rosenwald, that was a fund started by Booker T. Washington in the 19 teens because African Americans didn't have, schools to go to out there. So Booker T. Came up with the idea and concept, and Julius Rosenwald helped fund it. So I attended the school for 7 years here at Carroll School, and then I had to go to Rock Hill. You have to go to Rock Hill to Emmett Scott. I farmed with my parents who were born and raised as farmers, who actually died right here on the farm. They didn't want to be anywhere else. And you got used to that. I love playing sport. Baseball was my favorite sport. That was my dream and desire to be a professional baseballer. So every chance I got a chance to play baseball when I was growing up, I played for the local team, which is the church area, which is New Zion. Back at that time, baseball was huge in the African American community. On Saturday, that was the day, the picnic and the baseball game. I aspired to be, to be on the big team with, the parent team. And when I made that, that was reason for celebration. So my actual professional baseball career started right here, playing on that New Zion team right there at Carroll School. So that's what I love to do in my spare time, play baseball and fish, and among other things. I had a cousin. He left when he became 9 years old and moved to New Jersey, Plainfield, New Jersey. And he would come down here each summer and spend the summer with my brother and I and his grandparents. And we'd play baseball all summer long. And we made a pact, he and I, that we were both pretty good ball players, that we were going to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the Brooklyn Dodgers were the team of the African Americans at that time because of Jackie Robinson. Black didn't follow baseball, professional baseball, until Jackie Robinson started playing. So everybody become Dodger fan. And so we have packed, how your children, we agreement that when you grow up, and when you get out of high school, you're going to come to Plainfield and come to New Jersey, and we're going to take over the left side of the infield for the Brooklyn Dodgers. So I went up there with the desire to play for the Dodgers or some other professional team. But I didn't get to play Major League Baseball because, I got some offers, but Joe Black, who was the first black pitcher to win a World Series game, was from Plainfield, and he came back afterwards, and they decided to put a team together to play Negro League ball, which was barnstorming. And I was one of the local hot shots around there, and he signed me and my cousin to play. So that's how I got to play Negro League baseball for 2 years. There's one member in particular. And funny thing, on the way to the stadium, there was posters of the pitcher that I was pitching. I can't forget his name. It was Bulldog Drummond. And he would say, "Who is this?" We riding down the street, all we saw was Bulldog Drummond's picture. I said, "That's my opponent." She said, "Are you scared?" I said, "No." And honestly, I wasn't afraid of anybody at that time. No, I went there. Joe told me, go 6th inning, tell him your arm hurt, take your shower, collect your money, and go home. So that's what I did. I told him that I took my shower, I collect my money, $50. I made $50 for playing the night before and didn't play. You got paid whether you pitched or not. And so that was $100. At that time, that was not bad money, you understand? So that stands out in some of my Negro League days. My wife was from Raleigh. She was from the South. I guess that's why I finished married, because we had that common denominator. I like Southern girls. When I moved back here from New Jersey, Carroll School was a community center. But this is what happened to the Rosenwald schools. When they closed the schools down, the Independent Integration, they allowed those schools to be used by the community, for community purposes. You organized, you played baseball there, you had picnics. Well, this is what Carroll School was serving at that time. When I came back here, it seemed that it was inactive. The community was not involved. And I felt that there was a need to reactivate it. And so I started a process to come back in, getting the community back together. And we did get it up and moving again, where we would have picnics and programs out there. The school district decided, they came up with an idea that this would be a good idea to have a field trip for fifth graders to teach them African American culture, history, because they wanted multicultural education to the kids, and this was the African American perspective on history from, say, the Great Depression era. And so I become involved in that with the school district, because I'm living history with my kids that would bring out here to the farm. I would take them to Brattonsville for some live cotton picking or corn shucking, and that was the early days. And then when the Sweat of Our Brow came, and Dr. Bertha Roddy came involved, and she found out that I was a descendant and there were other descendants in the area. She got the idea that we should bring those descendants together and try to find out what we could do by, focusing our attention on the descendants. So from that point on, I've been involved with Brattonsville. I've been excited and finding some documents about my great-grandmother Lila that really excited me, really whetted my appetite to go deeper into the research. And Brattonsville helped start me to finding documents, and from that point on, I've been on the case. Well, my grandfather, Wali Cathcart, was born in the late 1850s. He's 57 to 58, and which made him about 7 years old in 1865. But he had a very clear memory of that period. And my older brother Crawford and I spent a lot of time with him. And so we learned a lot from him. He would talk to us about that period, but out of the presence of my aunt, because persons of her generation didn't want the issue of slavery discussed, but we would get him out of their presence and we would ask him questions. He would answer those questions. And he told us things about 1865 that he had very clear memory of, that there was a very confusing time, he said. He remembered the Union Army occupying this area. They occupied the South after the war was over. So he had a very clear memory of the Union Army in this area. It touches something in you. And when you connect to your ancestors, there is kind of a emotional spiritual connection that you're driven. You're driven. Regardless of what anyone else does or say or do, you're going to do this. I'm going to be this. Because this is a subject that people don't take too easy. You don't see many of my other brothers and sisters. I have plenty of relatives. You just see Wali. I'm not the only one. But I am driven to find out as much about Lila. And here's the thing. I knew almost nothing about her growing up. Hardly her name. Had it not been for my mother, I might not have known her name, because that's how closed-mouthed they were about the issue, how it tied into plantations and slavery. So my mission, I'm driven to do justice for them. I feel that was not just. They were enslaved physically. They were, once again, not given credit that they're due. So if I stand up and speak for Lila and others, then I'm giving them some recognition. They're not faceless and nameless, you understand? Those slaves. No, they're more than that. They were somebody's grandmother, somebody's aunt. They were individuals. They're human beings. They were people. You follow? That's part of the problem. How we see ourselves is because of historical, we have not been able to put it in the historical context. if they were nothing and nobody and you're less, then that makes you that. When I moved to New Jersey, and this was purposely illustrated, I was exposed to other ethnic groups of people. In the South, you had no Jewish or Italian people. But when I went to New Jersey, that was a place, New York, how so many people come from there. So I was working with Italians, Hungarians, Jewish people. And as I worked around them, I saw the pride in them of their ethnicity. If it was Irish Day, it was green. And I saw that in them, and they would share with their history and how proud they were. I couldn't do that because I felt a sense of disappointment because African Americans were not viewed like that. So coming back and being involved in this and helping me go back and find about Lila and the plantation really changed the way I feel about myself. So I don't feel intimidated by anyone now. I feel I can function on almost any platform or any area, you understand? Because actually it's inside you. So I feel a sense of freedom, a sense of a burden that has been lifted from you, that you can move and not be inhibited. Because this is a 60-acre farm, my family farm. It was purchased in 1924. And I started a program in New Jersey called Rise and Shine, teaching young children how to grow gardens. And I felt that coming back here, I would have a greater opportunity with the land here. And I wanted to come back home anyway. It was just sold my house, and I come back home and told my kids, "Dad, you leaving?" I said, "Yo, go shooting. You know where to find me, right there on the farm when you come down." Yeah, they were happy because it made me happy to come back down here. Both parents have passed since I've been here, so I'm here with my baby sister, Marguerite, and we're able to maintain the farm. I can't farm it all by myself like they did back at the time, but I've come up with the concept of raised bed and using it to teach and train other children how to farm. As you can look around, I've done some other things. We've got a park over there that I've cleared off an area, and where there is a trail that you can ride around. Kids come out here, and particularly African American children in particular, children in general, don't get enough knowledge about about life. You're not getting all these things in school. If you think your child's going to learn about farming and everything, and you don't do your job to take them to a farm or something, expand their horizon, it won't be. So that's why I have the chickens and the horse. They love the horse. I have to pull them away from the horse. It's great education for the children. You should see the excitement in these kids when they see their things that they planted and they can grow. It really resonates with our children. I call it source orientation. If you connect a person to the source, they're not so easily moved by superficial things. And when you can put a seed in the ground, you see the earth is the soil. Whatever you're doing is on some part of the earth, right? Knowing and understanding that connects you. There's an interconnection to all life, plant life, animal life. And when you can get that perspective, you're not so easily moved by things that don't mean physical or superficial or material. I love it when I see the kids overcome their little inhibitions when they understand that it's in them, fears and things that they have. So I love children. This room is the family archives. I come up with the idea that you have to preserve your own history. And African Americans need to learn this, African Americans in particular, everybody in general need to understand that when you go through life, you are making history. You are part of that. And it's necessary to record something or preserve something on that so future generations, can learn from it. That's all anything you read in the history book is about. And so I had this concept for years because I gathered up pictures, and people in the family accused me, "You're going to take the pictures." But when I was going to take them, I make copies of them. I was going to do this with them. That's why I have so many photographs, because I wanted to preserve the history of the family. So this archives is part of that. And getting involved with Brattonsville helped me raise that to another level. That's why I have a library here. The information that I have acquired in the research is compiled in these booklets here. I have two children, Mitzi and Chris. My wife passed in 1972. My son was 8, 7.5, 8. My daughter was almost 13, Mitzi. And I was a single father and continued on to raise my family before I moved back down here in 1992. So my children at this point, at this stage, are in Houston. Then my son, Christopher, is in LA. So he's recording, he's saving all my history. So anything that I do is forwarded to him, so he has it all documented. And I believe in continuity. And we must move ourselves beyond thinking that death has to stop. No. No, if you're thinking properly, if you have to pass it on, actually it should evolve. It shouldn't stay where Wali has it. My son should move it to another level. I guess it just goes to prove, saying that I believe that all things work for good for those who love the Lord. Sometimes these little things appear to be bad, then there is another side that can be done. Yeah. My whole purpose, I feel, in life is to help inspire somebody. And the most important thing is how you connect with others.